Jacob, would you like to do the introduction?
Welcome back to the World Cup Waffle.
It's not the
It's
World
not
Cup.
the World Cup waffle.
Mate, so just checking you're awake.
Ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
I was about to sneeze.
Thanks for watching. And
It's goodbye from me.
yeah, right. Just shout that again.
3, 2, 1. Well, welcome back to the Football Waffle. As always, alongside me is Matt and Jay. How are we today, gents?
You asking me or him first?
Well, I'll open it to the floor, but I'll open it to the right first.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good. Still working on personally my own dissertation. That's taking up the majority of my time. But it's sort of been. When did we film this last week?
Might have been the week
2 weeks
before.
ago.
2 weeks ago,
On
and
St. Patrick's Day.
enough's happened as well. Even if there hasn't been much Premier League football or much league football, so we've got a lot to discuss. Matt,
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I mean, as you can see, the state of that Tottenham shirt, it's pretty much the same state as the club at the moment. So I'm pretty buzzed. I'm pretty happy. But yeah, let's get into it.
we will come to that. But you mentioned about the shirts. Let's just give a mention as well to our kind sponsors for the Football Waffle, Family FC. Matthew, if you want to tell everybody a bit more about them.
As always, we've got the Family FC shirt here, which has lived with me for a few months now because I've been working for them. They're a great brand. At the moment, they've got a competition where you could potentially win a one-on-one coaching session with one of their elite coaches. So definitely apply for that. It's bit.ly at FFC 1-to-1 win, I believe. I'll put the link in the description. But great company. Look forward to working with them in the
Are they on the
future
back as well?
They should be.
Are
They may be.
they going to be here? I mean.
Yeah, if
I might be on the back as well. That's right.
Yeah. They'll be on Jacob's shoulders.
Jacob's
enough of a body.
had a poor choice of colour today, so we may just actually have our green screen.
To be fair,
We might have a green screen. We might have Family FC and a floating head.
To be fair, half of my wardrobe's green anyway. So I was
Yeah.
doing that in honour of St. Patrick's Day from last time out. I felt like,
You still haven't.
I think I underdid it last time. So
Yeah,
Jacob's 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
So the international break then. Something very, very big happened in the England versus Italy game that we watched on my phone in the pub because the pub we went to did not have it on, which was disgraceful.
Shocker.
A poor thing that. But we watched the game and we watched Harry Kane score a penalty in a 2-1 win for England against Italy in a rematch of the 2020 or 2021 rather Euros final. That was Kane's 54th goal as an England international, which takes him above Wayne Rooney in the all-time scoring charts.
Absolutely.
That's
crazy.
enormous.
That
Is Kane even 30 yet?
No. I think he's
either
28 or 29.
He's either 28 or 29 if he's not 30.
But I mean, for him, if you look at the career he's had, I know he hasn't had such glory at that club. But
that shan't be named.
But for England, he has played amazingly, and hopefully, when the Euro does come around, England do win something because I think he does deserve it as a player. He's been absolutely incredible.
Is that trophies or international trophies or both?
Well, I'd hope for a bit of both, but we just don't know at the moment.
No, yeah, exactly. He's not even 30 yet. It was Rooney who was the previous record holder. Rooney, he's one of those players that famously peaks early, didn't he? He peaked at maybe 24. He scored his record-breaking goal for England, his 50th, was at Euro 2016. And it was the Iceland game that we've all burnt out of our brains. Yeah. That he scored that penalty. I'm not sure if that was the record goal for England, but it was. I think that was his first though in a knockout tournament. Whereas Harry Kane has scored like hat tricks at the World Cup and the Euros and everything like that. He's won just as much at international level as Wayne Rooney. Yeah. I think it's fair to say he's a more accomplished footballer at international level than Wayne Rooney is, and I think he deserves a record.
Interesting.
At international level. Obviously not.
I was going to say club level.
For club level, of course not. Man United won everything there was to win with Rooney in the team, but
they're both different players, but
yes,
both a consistent source of goals there for international level. So both top class calibre of players. But I think for me, growing up watching Rooney, I think he just edged it for me.
Yeah,
but
I think incredible.
I'm not going to argue against Rooney being an incredible footballer. Don't get me wrong, and I didn't actually outright say there that he was better than Kane. Or that Kane was better than him rather, because Bald Rooney was a menace, wasn't it? In the late 2010s,
Is that why you want a buzz cut? Is it
up to 2011? Bald Rooney.
Didn't you see? That's what I'm going for.
a 2 on back and sides and a 2 on top.
2 on the fringe. Yeah.
What's
2 on the fringe?
Well, that version of Wayne Rooney was unstoppable. He was incredible.
Class.
And this isn't to say that Kane is a better player than Rooney or one way or the other, but at an international level, Kane has done more.
Yeah,
Kane has done more.
He
for
has
England.
accomplished a lot, to be fair. But I think another standout in that England squad who we've got to talk about is Jude Bellingham. I mean, how old is he now? Is
20?
He's got to be about 20, 21.
Is he even 20?
And I mean, he's broken to that England squad, no problem. And
Do you know what,
he just looks brilliant.
I think the midfield selection was fantastic. It's the first time we've actually seen that trio link up in Phillips, Rice and Jude Bellingham. I think it's the perfect balance between the attacking minded in more so Jude Bellingham, but then you've got the more reserved approach in Declan Rice and Phillips, who one could sit as the 6 and one can go as the 8. But I just think it was a bold move for Southgate to play 3 unknown entities in some ways when they've not played together.
I guess
I was about to say,
not in terms of like unknown players at all, because
I was going to say you do well to call Phillips and Rice unknown entities.
But I guess Calvin Phillips has been injured for a while as well, which has really hindered him in some ways, and he hasn't been playing as much for City. So it was quite bold.
He won't play that much for City.
Yeah, it was pretty bold to bring him in, but he did fit.
Do you think do you think that was the right move for him? Because I think he should have probably stayed at Leeds for another few seasons.
It's one of those because under Bielsa, Leeds had a very high octane, run all the time, quick style. Whereas with and Phillips could do that, but after Bielsa left and Leeds have had to change their style a little bit more, it might not have played to his strengths as much. Maybe City wasn't the right destination for when he left, because he was never going to get in the team ahead of Rodri or Gundogan or 8 million other players that play in DM. Rico Lewis, for God's sake, plays in defensive midfield more often than Calvin Phillips does.
Fullback.
He is, but he still plays in defensive.
But the point is,
he
wanted
plays
to exaggerate. Come on, man.
Well, that's but this isn't even exaggeration. Rico Lewis and Kyle Walker play DM more than Phillips does, to be honest. The way Pep plays, because he's like 3-back now, doesn't he? He has like his Stones.
Interesting.
Who's your centre?
Ake?
Or like Akanji, Stones, Ake's always in there.
He's had a bit of a resurgence, hasn't he, Ake?
He has. But we're going to get sidetracked if we talk about that.
No, but I think as a player, I think Calvin Phillips, I think he proved when he did play through the last Euros, didn't he? And I think he played really well with Declan Rice there, and it is nice to see his resurgence, especially through his injuries, which have been quite reoccurring, and then obviously not being able to play for City. So it's nice to see him brought into the team and give him that chance again.
Absolutely, it is. And strength in depth is always great. That's why City have bought him, because he is strength in depth.
Yeah.
But I do disagree with the fact that in 2021, I think our Euros final year, or it might have been 28. No, I don't think he went in 2018. In 2021, our Euros final year, he got the England award for Player of the Year.
Yeah.
For the England squad. And I mean, look, after the World Cup, that like the likes of Pickford and Kane, the Euros that Pickford and Kane and even somebody like Maguire had, and Shaw. God, Luke Shaw had the tournament of his life at the Euros.
He even scored in the final.
There you go, exactly. And look, Phillips was good. The whole England team was good in 2021. The whole England team was great throughout the tournament, but I don't think he deserved that. No. He does deserve his praises, though.
No, but I think in general that England squad that was put out, I think we had a decent game against Italy. I think we had a good game against Ukraine. It sort of looked like they played together for a long time, because there was such almost like a congruence between all the players.
Big word. That's word of the day. That is.
Yeah, it's part of my dissertation. That's why I'm saying it.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. But there was such a link up, and they all seemed to. They all just seemed to get on and gel really well together.
Yeah, it was quite fluid football as well, wasn't it? It wasn't sort of... They weren't sort of stuttering along, and it didn't look like when any of them picked up the ball, they didn't look puzzled as to what they were expected to do with it. It already looked like they were already on the move to the next pass. But I think in terms of being an England fan going forward, there's probably no better time, because... Obviously, there's been the golden generation and nothing amalgamated from it. But then you look at the talent that's upcoming now with your likes of James Maddison, Calvin Phillips, Jude Bellingham. Well, the list goes on, really. Harvey Barnes, Reece James. There's an abundance of talent in there, and
I think you didn't say Trent.
Well, I wanted to, but I know I'd be absolutely slated into oblivion.
No, you wouldn't. No. But playing on the players that have come up, what you said there about like there being a good cohesion in the group. The young players now, or a lot of the players that we consider to be the young players of the squad, the young Lions, have been in the squad long enough now for it to for them to have gelled. Like, the young players in the squad include your likes of, all right, yeah, Trent's not quite set in, but aside from him, the younger players in that England squad include the likes of, Rice, Phillips to an extent, Bellingham absolutely, Saka, Rashford, like a lot of the players, Foden, Grealish, these players that are young and that have a lot of time on the clock are already established international players. Like, they've already got their place in that squad.
Yeah.
So to have that already at such a young age is really beneficial because it's a great achievement, and it gives them a lot of time. It's a testament to what Southgate's done with the youth development. Do you remember in 2016, circling back to that when I mentioned about Rooney scoring, like Rooney went to that tournament as the oldest player in the squad, and like we had like such an old average age in that squad. Well, for football in terms anyway.
Yeah, averagely it was probably about 30.
I tried to think like some of the players that like that's one thing that we couldn't move away from for so long. That golden generation of a decade plus ago of Lampard, Gerrard, Cole, Rooney. Everybody that came through at that time, we couldn't move away from it because they were still great in the league, sure. So the players from that golden generation, we couldn't move on from them. Like, those players were still getting call-ups long after they should have done. Whereas now, Southgate's really leaned into the younger generation.
Yeah.
Like, all right, in 2018, he took the likes of Phil Jones and Danny Welbeck, but they were fringe players, and the likes of Foden and Bellingham weren't even senior players at that point.
Yeah.
He's done really well transitioning from one generation to another and getting the best out of the squad. And Saka had another fantastic couple of games as well, and he's been on fire all season. He's been
definitely.
It's been his season to shine. This time, his full season to shine, especially in an Arsenal team that are doing so well.
Yeah.
So and for him to be English is great.
I think as well it gives more of a sort of what we were used to seeing with England is, like you say, the golden generation, but I think it also gives, say, like younger people more role models to look up to, because some of these young players are absolutely fantastic, and it brings in a more diverse audience, because now younger people want to come and watch football because they're seeing these younger players and they're thinking, wow, that's, I'd like to be like them, and it gives football a more round perspective.
We could argue it's the same with the women's game as well. You think about how well they're doing it from an international standpoint as well. They're attracting big audiences as well, and they're pulling in the traction in that follows as well. And even from the situation from the under-23s, for instance, as well, you've got the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White coming through.
Yeah.
Balogun.
Cameron Archer,
yeah, I know you were going to get that one.
Liam Delap.
Liam Delap.
No, don't put him down on that.
I'm gonna say this with a.
Skip.
Gonna say this through
gritted teeth.
Curtis
Jones.
How
did I know you were gonna say that?
Who scored?
Yeah,
his last,
there you go.
I was shocked as you.
Appearance. So.
Well, you're right about that, and again, playing on the women's game, like the growth of football, like people are excited about the England men's team now. Because they weren't for so long. God, I remember I keep coming back to the Euros in 2016. After that defeat to Iceland, I was only, 14? I was watching that game. And I at that point in my life, I had never gone into an international tournament as an England fan thinking to myself, we're going to do really well.
Yeah.
Like, we came up against Iceland and I thought to myself, God, if we lose this, like, we shouldn't, but it's a really horrible possibility just because we're England at an international tournament and we don't do well and we perform under our expectations. And then obviously we did. But then we went in 2018 and I was like, we've got Gareth Southgate, who at the time was not an inspired choice.
Yeah.
We had a largely untrained squad and a few duds in there and made the semi-finals.
Yeah.
And it was incredible to watch. It felt like I was watching a totally different team. And that circles back to talking about getting young people interested in it as well, because people our age, who in 5 years' time might have kids. If we are like watching, are you hoping for or against that?
Against.
Well, you never know. People our age who might have kids in 5 years, we are going to be watching England at international tournaments with hope and excitement. Whereas if we were at the age that we are now, 10 years ago, going into a tournament, we would go into it thinking, oh God, how are we going to embarrass ourselves this time? And that would rub off on the kids that we want to watch football.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas that's not the case anymore. And it applies to the women's game too, absolutely. Look, we were in the pub last night and it had Bayern Munich against Arsenal on.
Yeah.
And there was a screamer, weren't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a goal that was.
Goal.
I can't remember who it was that scored it, but Arsenal's first goal in that game, go and find it on the highlights. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich, Women's Champions League quarter-final. Arsenal needed to win because they were 1-0 down in the deficit. Yeah. And their first goal to equalise on aggregate was incredible. It was fantastic. Was a really well-worked goal. We watched it in the pub and we were like, oh my God, like we were astonished. Like it was brilliant. And like it, and that kind of thing, that kind of reaction that gauges from people like us who've watched football for ages when it's largely been men's football and women's football has only just recently come into the spotlight, to watch it totally objectively as great football is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really good to see that there's such like open inclusivity in football now. So, for example, like I've watched a few women's games, and even I've been like, found myself thinking, wow, this is actually, this is incredible. These footballers are really great. And again, it's the same for what you said. When I have kids in a few years, shut up.
I didn't say anything.
When I have kids in a few years, shut up, Jacob.
I didn't say anything.
There's a plan set in place for that.
With
the missus, so don't worry. But
with our fiance.
Yes.
the fiance.
Yeah.
Carry on.
But like when I have kids in a few years, I want to, obviously I'm a football fan, so I'd like them to support football, and it'd be nice to see them, say I had like a daughter, it'd be nice to see her appreciating the women's game and maybe even playing for the women's team or whatnot. And same with if I had a lad, I'd take him to Tottenham games or want to take him to England games. But yeah, and Stoke games.
There you go.
I was the way you looked over to your left initially.
Yeah, because
that's an Adidas game.
Taken to the Adidas game.
Adidas All Stars.
But anyway, so I think it is a great thing, really. Definitely.
Yeah, it's nice to see that it's no longer one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's not a case of us just associating it with one gender. It's now moving to make strides towards being more inclusive to all.
Mm. Yeah. And 10 years ago, that would have been ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you would have been laughing in people's faces.
Maybe I won't go that far, but I'd be like, 10 years ago, let's say again, let's say we were 20 years older than we currently are, and 10 years ago I had a child a daughter that turned to me and said, Dad, I want to go watch a women's football game. I wouldn't think to myself, ha 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 ha, I'm not that like evil about it, but I'd probably think to myself, oh yeah, the women's game, because obviously
you wouldn't know where to look though, would you?
Not really, because it wasn't very well publicised. I'd think to myself Arsenal and Everton, because they were like the big teams at that time 10 years ago. They were like the teams at the top of the league. But now the Women's Super League is like, the teams that are going for the title. All right, it's the same as you teams that are going for the title in the men's game. Well, I mean, not necessarily exactly the same, but your Man Cities, your Man United, your Chelseas, your big teams, your Arsenals are still there. But it's so much more publicised and so much more like
readily available as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Dad, I want to watch a women's game. 10 years ago, I'd have been like, right, well, let me find a dodgy stream. Now it's just right, BT Sport 1 or Sky. Yeah. Now it's right there. It's at your fingertips, and it's great. Yeah. It's brilliant, and it's what the game's needed for a long time.
Definitely.
That was quite a tangent we went on from the England national team as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was a nice.
It's good, yeah, exactly. It's a good positive tangent. Yeah, exactly. Well, you said about you'd wanting to take your future children on Tottenham games. Are you sure about that at the moment? With the way Tottenham
sounds like what they've done wrong. Laura finds it dreadful at the best of times.
We do have a Tottenham shirt here. The badge is covered by the sleeve of the family.
That is a shocker.
And the shirt itself is very beaten up.
The sponsor's brilliant.
I'll let you know what happened to the shirt. So I put the shirt in the washing machine, and it just completely ruined
with some razor blades.
Yeah, it just completely got ruined in the washing. It's quite upsetting because it's a brilliant shirt. It's the 2019 Champions League final shirt. So
they're a far cry from that at the moment. Obviously, in the news this week, Tottenham has sacked Antonio Conte.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
Coming to you live now.
I'm very sceptical about it, because obviously I think he wasn't gelling with the team as much at the moment because he's had his own problems. Bless the man, he's had a tough time at the club, and obviously it just hasn't been an easy time for him. And then the players have started to turn against him and retaliate, which is also bad for the club. And then obviously he left on mutual terms, which I guess for him was the best move. So really, I think it was more of what was best for him at the time, and obviously best for the club, because there was just not a very good relationship. Obviously we've got Stellini and Ryan Mason now, so I guess we'll see how they go for the rest of the season.
I do think that Conte wanted to leave, personally. I do think that was what he wanted to do. But you mentioned about him having such a rough time recently. This is what I was saying to you last night as well, that I read about some of the things that have happened to him over the last calendar year or so. Excuse me. Some of the things that have happened over the last calendar year include his wife and children still living in Turin.
Yeah.
So that's still, he's away from his family. He's had his own his health problems, hasn't he? He had his what was it? He had his gallbladder removed.
Gallbladder.
That's what he had. He had surgery to have his gallbladder removed. He was one of the coaches at Tottenham who passed away. Unfortunately,
one of his coaching staff.
That was late last year.
Yeah.
One of his coaching staff, a good friend of his. I think it was like best man at his wedding or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I might be misremembering that as like a different.
From what I knew, they were really good friends.
But they were close. They were close as anything, and he's unfortunately passed away. A few of the other people that he played with in the Italy national team since then have passed away. Gianluca Vialli was one that got named, and he's just had, that's a really bad 12 months. Yeah. If you're Antonio Conte. And when it's met with diminishing returns on the pitch, which is something that he's thrown himself into, his work. Like he rushed back from his gallbladder surgery because he wants to do the job that he's paid to do. Yeah. He's a passionate bloke. But when you do that and then the work gives you 3-3 against Southampton because of a last-minute penalty concession, you're not going to be happy, are you?
Yeah, well, and on his actual first return from the surgery, this was before he did go back home. We lost 4-1 to Leicester.
Was that match? Yeah.
So that was. Just as he'd had his surgery, he'd come back for one match, and then he lost 4-1 to Leicester, and then he went back home to Italy, which again is just a kick in the teeth.
Yeah,
as you say, you've rushed back, you've worked hard, and then, like I say, the players on the pitch just haven't really contributed to what you've wanted. So
no,
it's just a shame. It's a shame for him. I like him as a manager. I respect him. I think he's a great manager. He took us far last season, but like I said, I just think things just weren't working for him and they weren't working for the players, so I just think it was the best decision for both sides really towards the end.
Who comes in next then, do you think?
Well, I think
Return of the Poch, or do you reckon someone like Thomas Tuchel?
Well, it can't be Thomas Tuchel, he's a Bayern now.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah, he's took Nagelsmann's job at Bayern. Oh, well. It might be Nagelsmann that comes in.
Did his first training session on the pitch with the players the other day.
There you go.
Okay, so
there you go. Straight from Matt's mouth.
You saw him in all the Bayern scrubs with the hat on that he's always got on.
So well, with that then, I think it's fair to give it Stellini till the end of the season, because Stellini had that.
He did a decent job.
Stellini had that month, didn't he, where Conte was out because of his surgery, and that's fine, that's fair enough. But Stellini did a good enough job
beat City
beat City, and did the job to get nominated for Manager of the Month. Yeah. But because he wasn't the manager, that nomination went to Conte.
Yeah.
Which was quite funny, really. Because it was Stellini. It was Stellini who obviously... I imagine Conte, was on the phone to Stellini all the time.
Yeah,
and being in his ear. Yeah, exactly. But the fact that Stellini was the man on the touchline every week and Conte was the manager that got the nomination for Manager of the Month was a little bit funny in a way. But I think given that, I think he deserves a go. Why not? Give it Stellini till the end of the season. To misquote Andy Tate.
Literally.
Give him till the end of the season to see what he's got.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's Daniel Levy. He's pretty ruthless. At the end of the season, if Tottenham don't make the Champions League, Stellini's got no chance. Even if they do,
I think it's in Daniel Levy's motivation to, even if Stellini does do well, and obviously we'd all like to keep him on if he does, but whether he does well or not, I do think Levy will try and get in another manager just to sort of secure maybe some sort of basis on a long term. So it could be either one with Poch
the two
or
favourites.
Yeah,
exactly. There you go. They're the two names, aren't they? Pochettino, you mentioned a minute ago.
I know Pochettino is the fan favourite,
and Julian Nagelsmann, who's managed more recently and, let's be honest, more successfully.
Yeah,
and he's younger as well. He's got a bit more. At the end of the day, he would have more time on the clock in a long-term sense.
Yeah.
Well,
so
there would have been another potential candidate if he didn't go to Crystal Palace.
Roy Hodgson. To be fair, we brought that up in the last podcast about who would replace him.
There was talks, wasn't there, that Hodgson could go back the last time we recorded, and since then he has officially been re-announced as Palace manager. And I saw a little stat about him. The oldest manager in Premier League history to have ever taken on a job is Roy Hodgson in his current job at Crystal Palace. Yeah. The second oldest manager to have taken a Premier League job is Roy Hodgson at Watford. And the third oldest manager in the Premier League to have ever taken a job is Roy Hodgson at Palace the first time around. He has all three of those top spots.
That's an incredible start.
Which is quite funny. I can't remember because I don't. Is he 70? Is he 76 now? I think.
Yes,
he's either 76 or 77, and I think he took the first job at Palace at 75. Then took the Watford job at 76, and then I think he is 77 now to take the job at Palace again.
I wonder where he's going when he's 78.
I don't know, West Brom.
It's almost like with Palace though. It was like, don't get me wrong, no offence to Roy Hodgson, but it was in with the old, and then he was out with the old and then in with the new, and then they've gone in with the old again. So it's almost like, don't get me wrong, he was a safe option. He kept them up, but Vieira did offer so much more excitement for Crystal Palace fans. I know they had a few rough games. When I'm going back to Roy Hodgson, it's almost like they're just going for safety of staying on.
They are, yeah, and he probably won't keep the job beyond the summer. No. This is just something to steady the ship, make sure they don't free fall to the relegation zone by May. And he'll do that because that's literally what he does.
Yeah,
and he's done it his whole career. Exactly. Vieira, I mean, look, Palace were in a bad way.
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily like doomed or anything like that, but no wins in 11 and no shots on target in 3. No shots at all, maybe. Was it no shots on all or no shots on target? I think it was no shots on target in 3 matches before he got the sack. And that is enough to earn the modern manager the sack in the Premier League. But
especially if you're the Watford manager as well.
If you're the Watford,
you've been gone after one game.
If you're the Watford manager and you draw agast like Southampton in the Premier League, if you draw against a team that's better than you, if you're Watford, outside. Yeah. But with Hodgson, he's not the long-term fix.
No.
But it's fine for now. It's a fine temporary appointment.
I think back to Poch or.
Oh, excuse you.
I was wanting to do that for about 2 minutes. I was holding that back for 2 minutes. Go
on. I think back to Poch or Nagelsmann. I think they'll want to get Poch in just because he's already got a lot of resonance with some of the players that are still there anyway. They were there when he left. So obviously Kane, Son,
Lucas Moura,
Oliver Skip.
Lloris.
You just love mentioning all the
any of the defenders. Sanchez, Davis.
Yeah,
was Romero a Conte signing? A Poch signing?
He was a Conte signing.
He was a Conte signing, was he?
Yeah.
But yeah, players that have been there long enough for it. Winks is still there.
Yeah.
Although he's on loan.
He's on loan at
Sampdoria. We were speaking about that the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
On the way to Bellevue, whether you'd give Harry Winks another go. Well, another go at his career when he gets back from Sampdoria.
It's worth a see, isn't it? I don't know how well he's done at Sampdoria. I've said it before on this podcast. I'm not going to lie and tell you I watched it. Yeah.
No.
But you know, he's
played for Preston, has he?
Who, Harry Winks?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'd take him. To be fair, we could do with a bit of depth in midfield, but why not?
Yeah, but I think out of the two, I think they'll probably prefer to get Poch. No offense to Nagelsmann, I think he's a great manager. He's young, which is obviously very beneficial for him. But I don't think he's not had the experience of being a Premier League manager yet.
If he doesn't go to to Tottenham, I think that's giving away what I was going to say. If he doesn't go to Tottenham, I can definitely see him going to PSG.
Yeah,
because Galtier is not going to last in the PSG role because he ultimately Galtier can win the double with PSG, and they've been knocked out of the Champions League round 16. So Kylian Mbappe, who essentially runs the club at this point, can go like that and get rid of it. Exactly, just Kylian Mbappe can give it that, and Galtier's out. And I can see Nagelsmann going to PSG. He's the kind of signing that they'd like. Somebody young, somebody who's got promise.
Well, they've got a young vibrance about the team anyway. So
exactly,
bringing in a young
they do it with players on the pitch, don't they? They spend extortionate money on young players with egos, with chips on their shoulder. And I'm not saying that Nagelsmann has that, but he's the kind of manager that I think PSG would be falling over themselves to have if they were to sack Gaultier, which I don't think is too far ahead of us.
No,
in the grand scheme of things.
But
yeah, let's get the quiz on the go, shall we?
Not quite. We're not quite finished talking about managers. It was in the news this week that the Premier League Hall of Fame, which was introduced, I think, in 2020 or 2021. Can't remember what year it was introduced.
I think it was 2021.
Whatever year it was introduced, for the first time in this season's inductees, in this year's inductees, we're going to see managers enter the Hall of Fame, which I really like, to be fair. I remember when it was first announced, the Premier League, and immediately it was all players that went straight in. And I thought to myself, they need to have managers in here. Because ultimately, I think somebody like Ferguson should have been maybe one of the first inductees.
Yeah.
Like, alongside... Because it was Shearer and Henry. They were the first two that went straight in. And I thought Ferguson should have been one of those. To have Shearer and Ferguson, the top scorer and the most successful manager, would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely.
But they didn't give it Fergie, and that made me think to myself, is it just going to be players? Or are they going to branch out to managers or to other personalities as well that are involved in the Premier League's production? And Ferguson and Wenger are absolutely the first two correct choices for managers
100%.
to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. They both had their promotional videos for it released on the Premier League YouTube channel, which were actually quite good to watch, to be fair. I watched both of them. They were quite nice. And it was talking about when Wenger first came in as well. There's an interview with Ian Wright, who was still playing for Arsenal at the time, after a match. And it was when Wenger was announced to be coming, but didn't arrive till the summer. And the interviewer says, how excited are the players about having Arsene Wenger come in? And Ian Wright literally goes, who? That is his response as an Arsenal player. And obviously,
behold.
and obviously he did so much for Arsenal, the invincible season, 1,000,001 FA Cups. But this is a question I posed to you guys. Who else should be inducted in the class? Because I think there's 3 more places in this season's inductees.
Yeah.
And we don't know who they are yet. There is a shortlist, which I had up and I will read out in a second, just so you know who you're working with.
It's very, very interesting. It's very difficult in a lot of ways, because obviously you're limited to the Premier League, so you've sort of just got to think of absolute legends from the Premier League, and there's quite a few to go from.
Well, that's just it, because the entry requirements are it's just their Premier League career that's taken into account. So if they played in foreign leagues, if they played in the Championship, at international level, none of that counts. It's just their Premier League careers taken into account, and they have to have retired before the beginning of 2023. And I imagine next year they'll have to retire before the beginning of 2024, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're never going to have any modern players in there. So obviously that'll change. But the shortlist is out for the 3 people that can join Fergie and Wenger in the class of 2023, and this is how it reads: Tony Adams, Arsenal legend; Sol Campbell, Matt's favourite player.
Oh yeah, great.
Michael Carrick. Fair enough.
Okay.
I would not have thought about him being inducted so early, but look, he had a 20-year career in the Premier League, I'm reading here.
Yeah, now he's a manager.
Petr Cech, who is probably one of my picks, personally.
I would have chosen
okay.
Andy Cole, who I forgot wasn't actually already in there. That makes a lot of sense.
Schmeichel.
Schmeichel's already in there.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole, and alright, yeah, fair enough. Probably the best left back the Premier League's ever seen.
Yeah.
Jermaine Defoe, I like that.
Yeah.
Good Premier League footballer, Jermaine Defoe. Les Ferdinand, who obviously retired in 2004, it says on here. Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Again,
that
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Robbie Fowler.
Yeah.
Your favourite.
Yeah, obviously a player that you'll enjoy reading about on here. Gary Neville.
Bloody hell.
No, he does deserve it.
Yeah,
come on, he does
deserve it.
He does. Even if there's always bones about whether he was the most gifted footballer, and he wasn't.
If I hear Jamie Carragher on that list,
you're not going to, because it's alphabetical order, so we've passed the C's already. But Carroll will be in there soon enough.
Do you think?
Yeah, of course.
Carragher.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he will.
That's like putting Micah Richards in there.
No, it isn't. No, it's not. It's very different.
He was a City legend.
Yeah, Micah Richards burst onto the scene, went to Fiorentina, got relegated with Villa. That's what Micah Richards' career was. Yeah. But somebody like Carragher is a servant of a successful Premier League side, even if he never won it as a player. But anyway, Gary Neville was where I was up to.
Yeah.
Mr. Personality, Michael Owen.
Lovely.
Mr. Old Cliche.
This guy has to be in there as well. John Terry. Yeah, he's got to go in there next. He's got to be one of the three. John Terry, Yaya Toure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I
think that's one of the roguish shouts. Him and Carrick, maybe not such a soon. Yeah, not just yet. Exactly. Give it a bit of time before they get inducted. There's players that probably deserve it more. And finally, Nemanja Vidic. And again, I think that's earned.
I think that's pretty fair.
If you had to ask me who my choices would be, I'd have to say I was thinking Czech before I even sat down and read the nominees. I think he's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League ever. He's probably the most successful goalkeeper. He's won it 3 times, I think, with Chelsea. He won it 5, 6, and 10.
Yeah,
I think they were the years he won it, because I don't think he was. Oh no, he was part of the team that won it in 2015 as well.
Let's forget
he was second. He was second fiddle to Courtois, but he was part of the team that won it.
Forget the time he went to Arsenal.
He's probably won. I think he won at least maybe 2 FA Cups with Arsenal. Yeah, but obviously that's not the Premier League.
Yeah.
But he's won 4. He's been part of 4 Premier League winning teams. He's got the most clean sheets ever. I think he deserves it, Petr Cech.
Yeah.
And having forgotten about him, but having read his name, John Terry.
Yeah,
I don't really like him as a bloke. There's a lot of things away from his footballing ability that suggest he's not the nicest person in the world. And I'm having to skirt around that because I don't want him to watch this and sue us. On the off chance that he watches this.
Right.
But with John Terry, he's there's plenty of reasons that people don't like him off the pitch.
But on the pitch,
on the pitch, undeniably, he's a servant to Chelsea.
Yeah.
He was an incredible defender. I think he's the top scoring defender in the Premier League ever, and he was a warrior. He was a leader of that Chelsea team. He threw himself in the firing line all the time, even into his mid-30s. He wasn't scared of anything, and I think he earns it. So Cech, Terry, and
I think the last one's quite difficult because you've got quite a lot of people who would be deserving of it.
I'd personally have to go for Andy Cole.
Yeah.
Reading these nominees
I'd go Robbie Fowler.
Of course you would. Well, I'll let you explain that in a second because I'll hand you this and I'll give you the list and see who you choose. But I'd go Andy Cole. I think he's the 4th or maybe the 3rd? Oh no, he's not the 3rd highest scorer in the Premier League. I think he's maybe 5th. He's up there in terms of the Premier League goal scoring charts. He was ruthless in the Premier League. Won it a number of times with Man United. He's if you watch some of his highlights as well, he was a player that he had so much pace, so much power driving forward. Very good footballer, and I think he's probably earned it as well. I think he's earned it now. He's earned the earlier induction than the likes of Carrick and Toure, I think.
Yeah.
I think there will be eventual inductees, and I think Carrick absolutely deserves it, even if he is even if some people would look at that and see it as a rogue shout.
I think I'd love to see Jermaine Defoe in there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people will think, why would you pick Jermaine Defoe? But he
deserves it.
He deserves it.
It's whether he deserves it over some of the other people on that list.
Yeah, I think over some of the other people on that list, maybe not. But he is literally if I think of amazing strikers from say the 2000s periods, I always think of Jermaine Defoe because he was just absolutely class, and he's been at so many Premier League clubs.
I think it's
that's a good one for your quiz. That. Name every Premier League club Jermaine Defoe's played for. Be here all day.
I was going to say, how long have we got?
Literally.
We've only got until 3:45.
And it's 2:00 now, so I think we're all right.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, I'll hand you the list. Is there anybody you'd pick out on there? You said Fowler. Go on, defend yourself.
I just think I grew up watching some of his goals. Just remember on the old Sky Sports when the 100 Club. Just some of the goals you saw in there were second to none. Similar to what you were saying about Jermaine Defoe, he's played for numerous Premier League teams. He was at, obviously Liverpool, where he's probably best known. But then you've got the likes of Leeds and Man City, where he also made a name for himself.
It's weird to think he played for Man City.
Yeah, it is weird, isn't it?
But yeah, I just think he was one of those players that you appreciated more after it was all over. Surprised, to be fair, Matt, that you didn't say Michael Owen, the Stoke legend himself.
I mean,
I forgot about he played for Stoke.
To be fair to Michael Owen, I mean, other than his off-screen personality, he was a great footballer, and I mean, I'm sure you loved him at Liverpool.
It's one of those. Obviously, Liverpool was his heyday.
Yeah, he wasn't dreadful.
Are you kidding me? Wasn't he like the youngest player to reach 100 goals? in Premier League history.
That's what
at
I
the
mean.
time.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't.
I think
dreadful.
He was phenomenal at Liverpool. He was the next young thing. He was. Yeah, I'm trying to think of he was like Lineker reincarnate for England, because he just knew where the net was, and he was ruthless.
Yeah.
And and what in 2001 he won the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah,
as a Premier League footballer. He's the last Premier League footballer, active Premier League footballer, to win the Ballon d'Or.
I think in terms of accomplishments, he has done a lot, and obviously you look at some of the clubs he's been at. He was at Liverpool, he was at United, he was at Newcastle. And
see, that's the problem, because the Newcastle, he was great at Liverpool, went abroad to Real.
Yeah,
he never really made it there.
Didn't really.
Came back to Newcastle, and he was injured all the time. Yeah. And then at Man United, he was injured a lot, and he didn't do much.
Yeah.
But he did score that famous winner in the derby, the 4-3.
Yeah.
Where Mark Hughes has a meltdown on the touchline about the fact that, and that was an example of Fergie time, that massively.
Oh, definitely.
That circles back to what we were saying 2 weeks ago about games that run over when they shouldn't.
Yeah,
that's absolutely an example of that. But
in terms of accomplished footballer, I think what he accomplished at Liverpool, he's got to be.
It merits a nomination.
He's got to be in there.
It merits a nomination, but I don't think he gets in yet.
No.
I'll just give you another look at the list as well. Is there anybody else you can make your case for?
Surprised Peter Rodden-Wingy's not in there.
What a shout!
What a shout!
What a play!
Peter Rodden-Wingy.
Stoke legend.
I think Rio Ferdinand.
Well, I mean, nobody on there really is like.
No one on there.
Nobody on there doesn't deserve it at some point.
Obviously, Sol Campbell.
Except him, obviously.
I dislike Sol Campbell.
Really?
A lot of people will probably understand why. But I mean, he was a great footballer. He was very accomplished. Again, probably deserves to be in there. So I think really it's too difficult to actually choose. I really feel sorry for whoever has to choose.
It's a vote.
Whoever goes in. Is it a vote?
That's what's on the screen at the moment. You could just press select. So
yeah.
If anybody's interested, Premier League website, you can vote for who you want to go into the Hall of Fame next. 3 nominations open for 2023. And I wish we got paid by the Premier League to say that, but we don't.
Yeah.
That'd be the day.
If only, yeah. But here's another question actually that I've just thought about: players who either have very recently or are on the cusp of retirement. So I'm not quite going as far as Kane.
Yeah.
Like somebody who's in their mid to late 30s now, who maybe hasn't retired yet, but who you think should go in the Hall of Fame. Just give me a name.
Ooh.
Premier League or in general?
Premier League Hall of Fame, because it is the Premier League Hall of Fame. I reckon I'm torn between two. One who's only retired a few months ago, and one who is still playing.
Someone in the 30s, would you say?
Well, there's two in my head that I think will eventually get in the Premier League Hall of Fame, but we'll have to see how long it takes for them to be nominated. Aguero's already in, I think, isn't he?
Is he already in?
Yeah, because he retired before this year. I think he went in last year. Yeah. But I think the two that I'm thinking of that will eventually go in, I think, both, but haven't been retired long enough yet, or aren't retired at all, are Gareth Bale.
Gareth Bale, definitely.
Obviously retired earlier this season. Really did everything that he could with a bang average Tottenham team. Realistically, he was a standout player in the league for seasons upon seasons, and he merited a world record transfer bid in the end.
Yeah.
Bale, I think, earns it. And I think when he retires, Jamie Vardy should absolutely be going in the Premier League Hall of Fame.
Jamie Vardy, yes.
Because he's in the 100 club, he's won the Premier League, he's been Mr. Consistency for Leicester up until maybe the last couple of years when his age just started to finally show.
Yeah.
But Vardy absolutely deserves it as well, in my opinion.
I think David De Gea will probably end up getting in there.
Yeah, De Gea will get in there when he retires.
Schmeichel maybe.
Schmeichel.
Casper.
That's a good shout, because Peter's already in there.
Because, he did win a Premier League with Leicester.
Won the Premier League with Leicester, and he was a servant for Leicester as well. And he was great for them. Like at the beginning of the season, obviously they lost Schmeichel. He went to, where did he go to?
Nice.
Nice. Nice. He went to Nice, and at the beginning of the season, Leicester looked like they hadn't replaced him at all. Danny Ward's grown into himself now as a goalkeeper, and Leicester aren't quite as in danger as they were at the start of the season. But were they bottom until like November or something, Leicester? And they were sorely missing Kasper Schmeichel.
Do you know who my shout is?
This is going to be awful. This
Mr. Versatile.
Oh,
James Milner. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
I love how we both knew who he meant when he said Mr. Versatile.
I mean,
it's
to be
just
fair,
Milner, isn't
City.
it?
He played both City, didn't he?
Yeah, Milner will get in there. You're absolutely right. He will get in there.
Is David Silva in there?
No, he's not. He's not retired yet, so he's not eligible.
Well, when he does,
but he'll go in. He'll probably go in at some point when he retires as well. Look, he's got the statue outside the Etihad.
Yeah,
and I think actually
Peter Crouch in there.
No, he isn't. But he'll probably. I don't think he's even been nominated yet. But he probably will be at some point as well.
I mean, he played for Stoke. Come on.
Did he ever win the Premier? I don't think he ever won the Premier League though. Peter Crouch.
No,
he wanted to. Defoe didn't either. To be fair,
He joined Liverpool just after we won the Champions League.
Yeah, and then but obviously Liverpool didn't win their first Prem till 2020. So, but with you don't necessarily have to have won it to be in the Hall of Fame, but it helps.
It does help, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and talking about Silva as well, he's got the statue outside the Etihad. I think his statue looks the most like him out of the others outside the Etihad. Definitely. You've got Ross Barkley in Vincent Kompany and Tony Kroos in Sergio Aguero.
Do you think Van Persie won one?
He's already in there, isn't he?
Van Persie, no, he isn't. He's when did he retire from Van Persie?
Not long ago.
He's not in the Hall of Fame though. I'm sure he's not. I'm gonna get the list up of current. There's only 16 players in the Hall of Fame, and I'm sure Van Persie is not one of them. Hang on a minute.
You can say he would be a good nominee.
Sure, he will get in there.
You've won Fernando Torres, wouldn't you?
You know what? That is a shout.
No, I don't think he's work at Liverpool. I don't think he's work at Liverpool because he was only at Liverpool for 3 seasons.
Luis Suarez get in there.
Suarez, yeah, decent shout.
He's a controversial person though, isn't he?
He is a controversial.
Like Ryan Giggs isn't in there. He absolutely merits it, but being a controversial person has kind of stopped him getting in there straight away. Ronaldo will when he retires, absolutely, yeah. But hang on, let's have a look. So before Wenger and Ferguson, these are the current inductees: Vieira, Rooney, Ian Wright, Peter Schmeichel, Paul Scholes, Didier Drogba, Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero. They were all inducted last year, and you can't really argue against any of those. And then 2021, this is when it first got brought in: Shearer, Henry, Cantona, Keane, Beckham, Bergkamp, Lampard, Gerrard.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
They're all earned. But yeah, Torres is a tricky one. Probably not. I don't think he was at Liverpool and consistently successsul at Liverpool long enough to make it. Because obviously at Chelsea,
Ricky Lambert.
At Chelsea,
Lambert,
yeah. But again, Suarez, for being a bit of a dodgy person, probably won't make it in there. Not for a long time anyway, because somebody like Giggs, who is so much more of a Premier League icon, and he is for his footballing ability, is not in there because of personal reasons, which makes sense.
Yeah,
so it's tricky.
But I think you should get on that quiz now.
Go on, do we want to do that quiz?
So it's going to be a bit different this week.
Ooh, it's going to be a bit different. Buzzer noises, test them.
Someone at the door.
You're hilarious.
Someone's knocking at the door.
Somebody's ringing the bell.
So the way it's going to work is, so I'm going to give you 3 clues. If you get it on the first clue, so you have to buzz in. If you buzz in and guess it on the first clue, then you get 3 points.
Yeah.
Second clue, you get 2 points, and then obviously on the third, you get 1.
So it's the Who Am I round from Stat Wars. Okay.
But obviously,
be careful with your phone screen, because if you lean in it like this and we look at you, we can probably see it.
Okay, so the first clue for 3 points.
Okay.
Who am I? My nickname is a common joke in the friendship group.
A common joke in the friendship.
My surname is a common common joke in the friendship group.
Okay. I don't
know. It's going to be one of them stupid ones that he says all the time.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
My biggest, the club that I spent the largest amount of time at was Man United.
It's not who I was thinking it is.
No.
Is that for 2 points, that?
Yeah.
Spent the longest amount of time at Man United. Is that in the Premier League or just in general, in the whole career?
In the Premier League.
Okay.
No clue.
And I used to be a Republic of Ireland international.
God, why can't I think of anyone?
It's your first clue's really thrown me off.
Dara O'Shea.
Dara?
Oh my God, he's had a nightmare. John O'Shea.
John O'Shea.
Yeah.
Come on, I've got to get that. He said Dara O'Shea.
Who's he playing for?
Dara O'Shea. To be fair, you're not winning a header off him.
Yeah, you're not.
John O'Shea.
Same position.
O'Shea's, of course, right. So you said it, and I was thinking Demba Ba.
Ian Rush.
Ian Rush.
If you didn't get his first clue,
we go
to a pub called O'Shea's.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pub that we're at a few times.
Terrible.
And it's not O'Shea's if you ask Jacob, it's John's.
Yeah, it's John's.
So, right, hilarious. Okay.
Right.
Okay, you ready for the first clue?
Go ahead.
Yes.
So I'm a current Premier League footballer with number 7 on my back.
Okay,
Well,
so that's
that's
one of 20
nothing.
players, maybe even less.
I started my career in the German league,
That narrows it down to about 30 people.
and I currently have 99 goals for Tottenham Hotspur.
No, Son.
Hey!
Started his career in the German league.
Yeah, he did.
Hamburg.
Did he start at
Hamburg.
Hamburg, did he? Because I know they got him from Leverkusen, right?
I was
Hamburg SC.
thinking Son when you said that, but I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I was being stupid.
As soon as you said it, I thought Sancho, but he doesn't have number 7 for Man United. He's number 25, isn't he?
Go on.
Are you ready for the
Lion.
next one?
Yeah.
So that's a point apiece.
Yeah, go on.
I'm in a shocker here.
My middle name is David.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah, ding dong, like...
Was that a serious buzz then?
No, it wasn't,
No.
because I didn't press the buzz.
I'm trying to think how I can word this. I'm probably most renowned for my time with Southampton. However, this is your final clue. I scored the winning goal in the Norwich Cup for Liverpool.
Adam Lallana?
Yeah,
So he scored the winner in the 5-4.
yeah.
The Norwich Cup?
That's what it always gets. Memed
I've
as.
never heard it called the
I've
Norwich
never
Cup.
heard
I
that.
knew you were talking about the 5-4, and I knew Lallana got the winner there. My middle name is David. As if any of us were going to, as if either of us were going to go Adam Lallana as a result of you telling us his
Literally.
middle
Well,
name.
you
is
never
These
know.
clues are terrible, mate. No one's going to get
Yeah, because he's
them.
getting them off Wikipedia. He's not getting them written down anywhere
Like,
else.
when you say a 7 in the league, wow. Well, so that narrows it down to 20
Yeah,
players.
well, maybe
Exactly.
less.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not horrendous. I mean, he said for this one, he said the middle name's David. That narrows it down to about 1 million people
Yeah,
in the
literally.
Premier League alone.
John David O'Shea.
yeah.
Are you ready for the next one?
Go on.
Go on.
The only team that I've ever played for is Preston from 2014.
Are you kidding me?
Daniel Johnson.
Nope.
What?
No.
How am I supposed to get this? Go on.
Second clue is I wear number 8 for Preston.
Is it Alan Brown?
Hey!
you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?
Daniel Johnson's our longest serving player. That's why I guessed him. Alan Brown.
The
went
last
for
clue
it.
was going to be
I didn't know where you were going with that because you were like, what was the last clue going to be? Go on.
he's always in Beluga.
Oh, wow.
Come on, you could have made the second clue a little bit less obvious. And I mean, yeah, look, that's just Matt with the fastest finger, and that's embarrassing for me as a Preston fan. But still,
Gave you a chance. Are you ready for the next clue?
Yes.
Go on.
The next one, sorry. I started my career in the Brazilian leagues.
Okay.
I then moved to Real Madrid where I only made one appearance.
right?
And then now I find myself at Liverpool.
Fabinho.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh.
3-3.
Forget that he played for Real.
So it's going to come down to
Tiebreaker.
to a tiebreaker.
Right, go on.
I'm trying to think which
Probably
one I
still end up in a tie.
So-
yeah. Neither of us get an answer.
Yeah. Sit now.
I'm trying to think.
How did I lose the Alan Brown one? That's actually so embarrassing.
What can I say? Just know more about Preston.
No, exactly. Yeah, really. Yeah, you must do. That's what living with me for 3 years does for you.
Literally.
So first, the next one and the final one.
Mhm.
I retired back in 2018.
Okay.
Second clue. I had a stint with Stoke during 2014 and 2016 after a failed move somewhere else on deadline day.
Ooh.
And then I'm trying to think how I can do. I've also played. Probably my most famous stint is with West Brom.
It's Peter
Oh,
Odemwingie.
Yeah.
It's just-
yeah.
I mean, look, if you hadn't have said him earlier, because you just brought his name up, I wouldn't have got it. But did you only? Was he just on your mind?
No, I didn't think I had it already scratched down anyway.
2 years with Stoke after
Wow.
a failed move elsewhere. No, he went to.
Because he was meant to move to QPR.
He went to QPR, didn't he?
No, that's
No, I know he. Did he not go to West Brom instead, or did he? Was that where he was already?
That's where he was already.
He was at West Brom, went to go to QPR, didn't, because he turned up outside the training ground, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. He turned up outside the training ground.
And
then did he not stay at West Brom after that then? And then he went to Stoke. Did he go to Stoke?
Yeah, he went to Stoke for 2 years.
Right, I know he was at Stoke, but I didn't know he went to Stoke like immediately after the QPR thing. Because that was on deadline day. So how did he end up going to Stoke when he spent the night at QPR? He must have stayed at West Brom for at least another season.
I think the move just broke down.
No, the QPR move broke down, but he was already a West Brom player on deadline day of the QPR nonsense.
Well, anyway.
He must have stayed for a year at West Brom after that. Right.
Fair
enough.
For a year.
Well, that's a win for me.
The worst quiz I've probably ever done.
I'm sure we say that every week.
But yeah.
Well, that's a win for me, even though I lost the Alan Brown question. So it's actually a bit of a defeat for me. It's actually it's an embarrassing. That's an embarrassing one. Because I know my folks are going to watch this.
Done,
my folks are going to watch this as well. Yeah, but actually, that was one of your better quizzes. That because some of yours are very poorly thrown together.
I'll take that.
So you should do. Is there anything else for us to discuss? Is there anything else left for us to discuss?
I don't think so. No, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Who wants to outro?
Well, that concludes this episode of the Football Waffle, and we'll hopefully be back for one more edition before Matt leaves us forever.
Well, yes, before we all
Leaving
finish uni, basically. That'll be the one. Hopefully,
well, it might not be the last send off. I'm sure we
maybe not. We could probably squeeze a few more in. We're going to
stay in touch, right?
No, we're never going to see each other
not
again.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back.
Exactly. Yeah.
But until then, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me. What? What did you do?
Did you not see that?
What did you do?
Cut that.
And goodbye from me.
It just went like that.
What? Oh, as you put your hand down, smack the thing.